A couple of months ago, all of our sales team quit. Now, that's, of course, a dramatic intro, and the truth is that we only had 2 salespeople to process our inbound leads. But they both did leave the company last quarter, and we were left with no team. And after they left, we closed our best sales months ever. But this was a massive rebuilding and rethinking of our entire sales funnel and organization. We had to rethink everything. Team shakeups like this force you to act on the spot, to reassemble resources, but also to zoom out and figure out what wasn't working. So today, I want to share our lead structuring process, how we think about these leads, the tools that we use to process them, and I want to tell you how we essentially built a new sales organization from the ground up. Okay, so let's start from the very basics. I believe that you can simplify company growth tactics into 3 large groups: self-service, inbound, and outbound. First, on self-service, you have to think of this as B2C. These are broad marketing campaigns where customers have an individual journey from brand discovery to conversion. And this may start with an ad or with organic traffic or with social media or with YouTube, but essentially customers are on their own. If you signed up and converted to a platform like ClickUp or Amazon Web Services, you probably did it yourself without speaking to a sales agent. Next up, you have inbound sales. Now, inbound sales happens where a website, for example, is built to capture leads, but those leads are going to require a sales agent touch to convert. This happens with many B2B SaaS products, especially if they're above $500 or $1,000 a month, because you would rarely convert to one of these products without any assistance. Many of these products don't advertise their pricing on their website, for example, or they require you to book a demo instead of just giving you direct access to the product. And last but not least, you have outbound sales. Now, this usually applies to B2B or even enterprise products, where you have sales agents reaching out to prospects, maybe via email or cold calls. You may have business development agents navigating their networks to sell to people. And as you go down this path, closing a deal gets more and more expensive. If you have a good lead flow or a good ad campaign running, you might be able to close a sale for, say, $50 to $100 per customer via self-service. But when you involve a sales organization that's humans talking to leads, you're going to end up with customer acquisition costs in the hundreds of dollars. So your products need to be priced according to that. It's actually a very curious thing, but many SaaS products are not expensive because of the servers or the cost of operating the software, but because of what it costs to sell the software. The price you're paying is covering your own customer acquisition costs. But anyway, you've probably figured out by now that self-service is our bread and butter at Slidebean. While our company focuses on startups, so it's really technically a B2B product selling to companies, our customer acquisition is like a B2C product, business to consumer. It's a broad reach campaign like YouTube or SEO. And I think companies can excel at 1 or 2 of these channels, but rarely do all 3. Maybe really large organizations like ClickUp or Slack or HubSpot, they can play in all of these 3 categories because their products can range from $10 a month to thousands of dollars a month for different types of customers based on their organization size. But most companies are operating on 1 or 2 of these tops. Now, in our case, we have 2 products whose pricing determines how we sell them. We have our SaaS platform, which is this fundraising OS for early stage companies, and we have our agency branch, which is a team of analysts and designers that helps companies prepare their pitch decks, their financials, and their data rooms. And each one of those is sold different. So let's get back to that diagram that I showed you earlier. We are essentially a lead capturing machine. We get around 40,000 leads that land on our lap every single month, and they discover us through one of these broad marketing channels. They maybe download a resource, or maybe they register for our newsletter, or they actually sign up for our platform, or they book a call with our sales team, and in rare occasions, they just book a project on their own, completely self-service, but that is really rare. For those large buckets of users, we need to have an email automation team that takes care of those drip campaigns. The sales team is vital for processing those inbound leads that want a sales call and pointing them in the right direction, usually selling them a project which the cost of these projects justifies the cost of having that sales team. Now, like I said before, last quarter, all of our inbound sales agents left at different times and for different reasons, but we were suddenly left with 0 people to process those conversions, which meant that the entire 7-digit agency revenue line for us could drop to zero because we could not sell. And then Levin obviously revealed that our commission system was not working and that we had to rethink the team to be able to recruit a new team. And we started doing that immediately after we got the notice, but we were not going to be able to have a team in place by the time the previous team left. So we decided to essentially transform our email support team into a sales team. Now, for you to understand this part, the role of the email support team had always been a reactive role. They respond to customer requests and they assist customers with questions about our different products. Now, that team's KPIs always revolved around customer satisfaction, response times. But suddenly, out of need, we understood that those guys were probably the most qualified to speak to these leads. And I would have, of course, helped myself and gotten on the phone, but I was shooting our Startup Planet episode in India at the time, so it was just impossible. Now, we immediately started training them in these calls and these processes. And HubSpot Sales was honestly rather easy to adopt. It's pretty easy to use. And we were using a platform called Wingman. Now, again, we used this tool mostly to monitor, but it suddenly became the source of knowledge for this new improvised sales team. We set up folders with some key calls so that they could use as a reference and then create this cheat sheet of common questions from the call transcripts. And a couple of weeks later, that support team began taking calls as the other team was phasing out. But here's the first accidental success. Really accidental. We suddenly turned our support team into a sales organization. And this was a massive breakthrough for our company that we had missed for years. These guys worked with that bulk of 40,000 leads, maintaining, optimizing the email drip campaigns that we sent all the time. And we had always thought of those campaigns from the customer success side of things. Yes, we wanted to think of conversions, but never as a sales campaign. By suddenly giving that team the tools, the knowledge to sell, and then combining that with a commission system, we suddenly found ourselves with this endless pool of leads. And of course, it just wasn't about turning every interaction into a sales pitch, but instead, it was more about nurturing those customers with a sales mindset, a mindset that there is a commission to be earned if this customer eventually converts. This lesson, this thing that we had overlooked for years, redefined our entire recruiting process. We ended up hiring an associate level agent who now leads the team. We promoted one of the customer support team members to the sales team after she broke our monthly sales record, even the previous sales agents. And we added a second new hire with a sales background, but who actually joined the email team to bring that sales knowledge and that sales experience into the email automation team. Now, the new commission system that we created now applies to both the sales agents and the customer support team, which keeps those guys motivated to close more deals. And we also now see a fair share of deals that are just closed via email without even the need for a sales call. We saw almost double the number of sales calls after we finished the transition, mostly from email conversations that were turning into prospects. Sales for April grew by about 80% compared to February, which again was pretty crazy for us. And that created a bunch of other problems on managing those customers. But anyway, here are just some key takeaways from that whole process. First, it's about retaining your team. A team member's compensation is a balance of a lot of things. It's market salary, it's benefits, it's growth opportunities inside the company, but it is also the risk of them leaving. I think we completely underplayed how risky it was for those guys to leave all at the same time. If your company will be in trouble, if a person leaves, then you need to be extra careful with keeping them happy and motivated and well compensated. The second point here is oversight. Sales is not my expertise. We had a single senior salesperson and we trusted them completely to establish our process because the other people on the management team didn't feel that they had the capacity to question that process. I now believe that it's worth getting second opinions on some of these things, especially if you as a founder don't have the criteria to judge or to decide. And this might be, for example, hiring a consultant to understand the process and to make recommendations, or maybe to benchmark that process against other equivalent companies. That's something that we've done a couple of times, just hiring somebody with an external view on what we do to understand if it's working or not. You should do that with processes that you're not an expert on. Next up is documenting your processes. Another big problem that we had was that none of these workflows were properly documented. In startups, things often move too fast to spend time documenting, but it is worth it, especially when only a handful of people are aware of how things work. And again, they may leave with that knowledge. Now, we originally deployed Wingman to fine-tune our sales process and to have this bird's-eye view of the deals in action, but we honestly got super lucky that we were able to repurpose it for a very different use case. We used their game tapes feature to help our new reps quickly understand how to answer common questions. Some team members also set up sales battle cards, which would be triggered by what was being asked during the call, like live on their screen. So anyway, I asked the Wingman team, who I had the pleasure of meeting in person while I was in Bengaluru, to include a deal in our platform. So they currently offer a 10% discount deal for anybody on YouTube, an even better deal for customers on our platform. They also agreed to officially sponsor today's video. But again, we were using them long before they sponsored this video. Last but not least, I think that necessity is the mother of invention. So make sure that you experiment. We've had to reinvent our sales process because circumstances pushed us to do so, but that shouldn't be the only reason. Our sales process was working, but we had no idea how much more efficient it could have been. So don't be afraid to force those drastic changes in your company. That's a half measures versus full measures approach. Hope this story was useful to you guys. Again, a shout out to Wingman for sponsoring this video and giving you guys a deal. We're also doing a fireside chat with their CEO, who I met in India. That's part of our weekly event series for the Slidebean community, so it's available to all our Slidebean customers. Make sure to sign up and tune in. See you next week.